Manchester United are in talks with Sandro Tonali. It also seems that this could be breaking news, but also Arsenal are in talks with Sandro Tonali, and they were linked to him in the January transfer window as well. I think one thing for sure is going to be if Manchester United do want to get Tonali, it's not going to be the same situation as Ederson. It's not going to be the same situation as maybe Fernandez as well. There will be, I don't want to say bidding war because it seems to be that the main driver of this is going to be can Manchester United, if they want to get Tonali, and they see Tonali as maybe their first, second, or third choice midfielder they want to get. Can they actually get this deal done if there's significant interest from Arsenal? And there does seem to be a lot of interest from Arsenal now. And then Arsenal will be looking to rebuild on the team that won the Premier League last season. And I think Sandro Tonali, it could be agent driven to start with regarding the January situation, but it looks a bit like Arsenal will not be the only club interested as well. There's also rumours that Chelsea might be interested. A lot of this is coming from the same kind of sources we saw with the Edison information about 4 or 5 days ago. So quite credible journalists talking about this one. And I think everybody knows that Man United have had this interest in Tonali for quite a while. There's obviously quite a lot of other midfield players that we're going to talk about over the next few weeks until some deals actually get done. But my initial reaction is going to be, I'm not surprised. I think it would have been almost like it obviously would have been a bit bizarre if Manchester United are able to get targets without any of the clubs interested. Is this going to be sort of a similar situation to Benjamin Sesko last year? That is this going to be Manchester United's top target? Is this going to be Arsenal's top target? I think a lot of people use the phrase statement signing or flagship signing or a player that's going to cost the most money in the transfer window. The rumored expectation of price for this deal is going to be around the £86 million price point at the moment. So apparently he's valued, and this could be a valuation coming from Newcastle, valued at maybe 86 million plus. But I think in terms of this as well, that Manchester United, apparently there was a price been discussed about a week ago of closer to maybe a bit closer to the £80 million. So again, this is one where I'm open-minded because I'm not sure whether Tonali is going to be Man United's definite top target. The question is going to be: is this a deal that given all the uncertainty around Anderson and probably the unlikelihood that too many even moves clubs, does Sandro Tonali become a deal that Man United should just get done? I think Matheus Fernandez is certainly in that category of a deal that should get done. A lot of it's going to come down to, I would say also, don't worry too much about the price because we have no idea what the price is going to be at the moment. An Arsenal interest, is that going to affect the price? We do not know at the moment in time, so we're not sure. And at the moment, I was going to say, I was going to make a joke about the transfer window heating up because it's certainly heating up in the UK. It's so hot here today. This room's actually quite cold, so I have got the lights off, so it's probably not as well lit as normal. Big up to you, Kenny Fan TV, who actually you're in Australia, so I don't know what the weather's like there. You're probably used to hot weather. So no, this is going to be one where, like, do you value the signing of Tonali to start with? Like you're saying, get Tonali in as soon as possible. Are people a bit more relaxed at the moment? That it looks like Matheus Fernandez is close to a done deal. Like, I'm not saying it is a done deal, but it seems like it could be close to a done deal if Man United want it. Edison is effectively. It feels like Edison's just waiting for Man United to decide they want him, which might be the case, might not be the case. And the question is going to be now: is Tonali going to be? Does he fit into Man United's transfer window as one of the top three players? Like, would you be happy if Man United had, say, Tonali, Matheus Fernandez, and maybe Edison, or maybe you could look at Alex Scott as well? So there is potential there where those could be not necessarily the three targets we go for, but it could be three targets that we can get quite quickly. I'm not going to say easily, but I mean, Sandro Tonali would be a player that if Man United got him, got the deal done, he's not at the World Cup. It would suggest that he's there to try and get and try and sign without as much drama. There's definitely a few players that are mindful that they're in the World Cup. They look at the World Cup situation and think actually they'd rather sort out their future after the World Cup. And I think for Elliot Anderson, I don't see that deal happening unless he goes for crazy money. I do not see the Elliot Anderson deal happening anytime soon. So it might be that in terms of trying to get deals done, it might be more beneficial for Man United to actually look at getting. I'm not saying we should definitely get Tonali done, but I'm saying that we should be looking at trying to get a couple of deals done before the World Cup starts. So I mean, I'm going to go for fan opinion as well and see what people think. And Marx is saying that again, saying he's clearly joining Arsenal. You think? So what I'll do, I'll put a poll in the comments, and we can get opinion with this one. In terms of this one, said he wanted. So I think a lot of the interest in January, a lot of this was agent driven. So again, I'm not sure if Arsenal see Tonali as their priority target, and there was rumours as well in terms of like if you look at Tutum Mercato Web, the Italian outlet as well, they were talking about this in terms of like Arsenal might be prioritising an attacking player as well. So in terms of where the budget is going to be, Arsenal might be prioritising a different sort of player. So to go through the news story regarding Arsenal's interest, this is kind of what's been put out there as well. So they're describing this as Arsenal hijacking a Manchester United move to start with, and they're talking about Bertha. If you know Arsenal's situation, the sporting director Bertha, he's apparently entered talks. He was the person that pushed the deal for Gyökeres through, whereas Arteta and the previous Edu, the previous sporting director at Arsenal, were valuing Benjamin Sesko more. So this could be driven by, if this does happen, it could be the sporting director at Arsenal. But again, all the power at the moment is in Sandro Tonali's hands, so it's up to Tonali where he wants to play. There is small speculation that Arsenal were looking at there was a talks apparently in January, and it did seem to be that Tonali's agents and entourage they were trying to engineer a move from Tonali out of Newcastle in January. Obviously, like trying to get a deal that done in January would be very expensive, and there was no way Newcastle wanted to lose Tonali at that stage of the season. And I think Arsenal also like signing a big player at the midway through the season might not be the best move either. Like they did have a team that was already functioning quite well, so maybe they thought it was actually a bit risky to bring in a new player in January. And it seems that maybe Tonali and his camp, I think they were testing the water of Arsenal, but clearly, no, clearly he was looking to move. I think one of the journalists, Damasio, last week was saying that Manchester United were pretty confident that they could get Tonali and they could get Anderson. And they were saying that they reported on Sunday as well that Manchester United and Tonali were pretty close to reaching an agreement. So there is stories both sides of this one, and I think a lot of this is going to be like Arteta's apparently a fan, and apparently Berta, the sporting director at Arsenal, initiated contact with Newcastle a few days ago. So I think both teams are genuinely in talks with Tonali. And the question, I suppose, is going to be that if it comes down to money, and it comes down to like that who can offer the best deal for. And I don't think it necessarily comes down to who's going to pay the most transfer fee. A lot of it's going to come down to like last season, Gyökeres was not interested in joining Manchester United. I don't know 100% the reasons for that. That a lot of people thought it was just down to Champions League football. I think a lot of times that there is a bit more complexity to the deal than that. So I don't think it's purely just because of Champions League football either. I mean, just to say for this one as well that they've already got a good midfield. So if Arsenal get Tonali, I know Man United fans are maybe 50-50 on this transfer. If Arsenal get Tonali and they've got Tonali, Declan Rice, I mean, you could argue, couldn't you, saying like that where would Declan Rice play further forward? Would Tonali play behind him? I think that's, to be honest, that would be a great move for Arsenal. And as Man United fan, I think if Arsenal are strengthening, they're probably the team that you're looking to try and beat next season. Because at the moment, they're probably the only stable team at the top of the Premier League. Man City will have a new owner, a new manager. I'm guessing that Liverpool will again have a new manager as well, based on what Slot has done. And the situation is going to be that for Man United, we've got to bridge the gap between where we finished last season and build towards trying to overtake Arsenal. If Arsenal gets a player like Tonali in, I think it's suddenly he's a big improvement on other midfield players they've had in the past, and with Declan Rice hitting form as well, I think that's going to be a disappointingly effective midfield for Arsenal. So I think that for me, like Tonali, I'm not going to say he's a key signing for Manchester United, but certainly he's a very good, a very good football player. Don in Spain says game time at Arsenal, and it's I suppose with this one you could be looking at. Yeah, you could be looking at the situation with Tonali. I think Tonali gets into like he definitely gets into Arsenal's team as well. Then so for me, this is like a lot of sense for Arsenal. You don't become reliant on one player; you get another quality player in as well. I think Marino is going to be probably the player missing out, and maybe they're going to look at an Odegaard, Declan Rice, Tonali midfield, which unfortunately does sound pretty good on paper. And I think Tonali's an upgrade on most of the players they've got as well. So disappointingly good business if Arsenal get this deal done. The question would be though, where's the best option for Tonali? And with Marx is saying that this is probably a kind of two-sided question as well. Do you think that Manchester United are moving too slowly? And do you think there's there any truth regarding this one? That do you think that no, if Man United don't get Tonali, then who do you blame for this situation? Is it going to be simply that Man United were not quick enough? And to be honest, like we're not going to really have a lot of evidence to judge it until he actually moves or actually picks a club. It could be a bit like the Gyökeres Benjamin Sesko situation where Manchester United didn't move first for Sesko, but Sesko chose Manchester United. I think if Arsenal get Tonali, I would say that this is down to Tonali's choice, and it could be that you know I think Man United could offer more money, but they would have the capacity to offer him a big salary. But we are cutting, we've cut a lot of costs over the last 12 to 18 months, and we could definitely offer him first team football 100%. Like we could, he's walks into the first team at the moment after Agate's gone and we lose Casemiro, so he gets first team football. The question is going to be like, is this a player that we have this conversation about a few people, don't we? And when we have this conversation, do you think that is there players that United should be moving for rapidly? Like you can't necessarily force these deals to happen with Anderson. If Anderson wants to wait until the end of the transfer window because he's hoping to get, if Anderson goes for big money, Nottingham Forest benefit, Anderson benefits, his agent benefits. So the only teams it doesn't really, the teams that want to get a deal done quickly are going to be Manchester United or Manchester City. But also the same situation as Tonali. Would Arsenal and Manchester United, like clearly we'd like to get deals done fast. Is it going to be in Newcastle's interest to delay things? I think it might not be in this instance. If you remember last year, then there was a lot of drama, like a lot of drama regarding Tonali, no, not Tonali, and regarding Isak and leaving Newcastle. In the end, it kind of led to Newcastle panic buying. I think they overspent on Wissa, they overspent on Elanga, and they did some quite bad deals. So the situation now might be like Newcastle know that Gordon, maybe Lewis Hall, certainly Tonali, they know that some big players are going to leave the club. I think they want to get deals done quite fast. Obviously, they're going to want to get the best possible price. That goes without saying. But I think they don't want to be in a situation where they move players on and then they think, right, how are we going to replace these players? They want to do deals quite fast as well. Broken verdicts. Welcome to the chat. Also, welcome Gregory, welcome Rob and Bilal as well, and Cody. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon, although it is pretty warm, like I said. Yeah, maybe I need to buy an Amazon cooling device then possibly. Maybe Amazon could sponsor the channel and they could donate one and I could talk about it for 30 seconds. But no, in terms of this one, are the club moving weirdly? It seems like, according to the Athletic, it seems that Man United have actually already had a lot of conversations with players, and it feels like they've got Edison essentially agreeing and just waiting on the shelf, waiting for Man United to say, right, we're going to take you. And are they going to be looking with the same situation? Because it might be that no, it's one thing that having an Edison deal lined up, but is that going to be a deal that United actually want to do? And do they actually want to go for if Tonali's available, and if Tonali said, "Look, I'll come to Manchester United. I want this much per week," and United go, "Actually, that sounds fine," and the price is going to be sensible. Do you think this is a difficult situation? If you're Manchester United, would you go right? Let's buy Tonali, and or would you be thinking? Let's wait and try and get Anderson because Anderson might not make a decision until after the World Cup, and it puts Man United in a difficult position because what can you be looking at as well in terms of like, is it going to be risky regarding this one? Like if it's all PR and Man United don't sign these players, then next season will be probably a disaster because every club is going to be improving as well. So it's going to be yeah tricky. Um, So, question isn't we've got the money we know we have. Now, the question is that United have got the money. I think the question is going to be that do they 100% know who their main target is going to be? Like, do Manchester United think that there's still a chance? It'd almost be easier if Manchester United, if too many came out and said, "There's no chance I'm leaving Real Madrid. I'm signing a new contract. I'm staying with the club." And if Eddie Anderson said, "Look, I'm going to go to Manchester City. This is going to happen." then for me, the situation with Tonali becomes very different. Then we look at Tonali and go, if you want Tonali, you got to go and get him. You can't wait around too much. And I think this is why, for some fans, like there shouldn't be too much urgency because there's a lot of options out there. But it feels a bit like maybe there is a bit of urgency because as soon as like a couple of players are off the market, suddenly then you've got less options. Suddenly the price can go up. I mean, we do know for a fact that last year clubs will not hang around. So if there's targets that Chelsea want to get done, they don't waste too much time. And Arsenal, I think Arsenal and Man City, you say, are generally quicker than Man United. And the club that took longer may have been Liverpool, but Liverpool were doing some quite big deals. And that the Isak one did take quite a long time. So what I might do is I might run a poll in the chat. I mean, also let me know if you think it would be, if you think Tonali would be a very good signing or a disappointing signing. That's something that people are a bit divided on as well. Big up to you, Gaz, in the chat. So, also don't forget to share the stream. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We are kind of, we are trying to push towards 1K before the transfer window opens, if possible. So let me do a quick poll, and this is going to be where will Tonali play next season? Just to gauge opinions on this one. At the moment, I think Arsenal, Man United. It's kind of difficult to call. I think a lot of the Tonali interest in January, I would say, was mainly pushed by Tonali in his camp. So Arsenal were not looking at Tonali too much in January. So I'll put this out there. Where will Tonali play next season is the question. And we'll put, I think Italy is going to be a long shot, but I'll put four options in there just to give you some choice. So we've got Arsenal, we've got Manchester United. I think there's a very small chance. I'm trying to think, is there any, there potentially he's being talked about going back to Italy or wanting to go back to Italy, but that seems to be I don't know, very, very difficult because the team interested Juventus, then he's going to be too expensive, I believe. So, is there any chance he stays at Newcastle? Would be the other one. But Newcastle have said that I think it seems unlikely, but I'll put it in there as the other option because I can't see any other club seriously linked. I think if you look at Newcastle, then Newcastle have said that they're going to let players go if they want to leave, and Tonali wants to leave Newcastle. So I don't see any scenario where that Tonali's like for whatever I can't see how he stays at Newcastle. I think it comes down to like the price point there. So I think the only thing that can make this deal take a long time is if Arsenal and Manchester United both don't put forward like sensible offers. That seems to be the only reason that would happen. So I think if I had to, what I'll do is I'll let the poll play out, and I'll let everybody vote on this one because I don't want to try and influence it. I'll just say that the stories are just to put out the information is that Arsenal have entered talks with Newcastle. It seems that their director of football obviously is interested, Arteta interested as well, and I think with Tonali as well. You'd look at Arsenal and think, Arsenal have just won the Premier League. He's going to be a player that they certainly consider, and it's going to be a team that he looks at and thinks also, if he joined Arsenal, he's got a good chance of winning trophies next season. I mean, I think it's on the weekend, isn't it? The Champions League final. So we might be calling Arsenal champions of Europe in a few days' time, which is disappointing and bizarre at the same time. But maybe Paris Saint-Germain heavy favourites in that match, but that could also be a factor as well. Manchester United opened discussions with Newcastle for Tonali, and this has been reported for a few days. And actually, maybe it might have been before the last match. Actually, it has been reported as Manchester United have pretty much got a deal done. So now at the moment, it seems that it's going to be yeah, exactly. Ryan, it's something we don't want to ever hear about. We never want to hear Arsenal winning the Champions League, but they kind of got themselves into a position where they've got a chance, and it's one game. Like it wouldn't be the first time negative defensive football has ground out at 1-0. So if you remember watching Greece win the Euros or you watch Germany win Italian 90, just grinding you through 1-0 would be enough. It's a one-off game. Don't write off Arsenal. They could bore Paris Saint-Germain into a defeat, possibly, and they could be pushing their goalkeeper into the net. No, it could happen. It's bad, but it could happen. Big up to you, Mark. Um, Welcome United to Diet as well. And say two things can be right at the same time. Which things are you thinking that can be right at the same time, Gregory? That is there a chance that are you thinking? Is there a chance that Man United go for Sandro Tonali and then go for Elliot Anderson and look at it as signing two very expensive midfielders? If Tonali's going to cost 80 plus and Anderson's going to cost whatever the deal would end up being for him, maybe they're looking at potentially a third option, which would be quite cheap. Maybe it's Edison. Maybe Edison's not quite cheap enough then if you're looking at these two sort of deals. I always feel like Edison feels a bit like a backup target at the moment. And for me, it's I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm kind of hoping as well, Gaz, that Arsenal might try and 1-0 it, but you've got to look at it this one as well. You're saying that you say Bentner, you're an Italian fan. I've heard a few people that just like the way Tonali played in Italy and said that now forget what Eddie Howe's doing with Tonali at Newcastle, that just almost like forget what he's doing at the club he's at, that Manchester United will be looking to do something different with Tonali. So I think it's quite difficult to, we can all pull up stats and look at different midfielders and compare them, but it also, a lot of it depends on what are we going to see happen at Manchester United? Like, how is Tonali going to be used at Man United? How is Michael Carrick going to set up the team? Like, what is he looking for? A lot of people are saying that. I think someone in the comments of a previous video said, "Look, we need to get a CDM." Do Manchester United really want to play with a holding six? They really want to go down that route because, or are they going to be looking at more of a double pivot? Are they going to be looking at, like we talked about a week ago, look at different players playing? So Culture Spot says Anderson looks like a United player. I'm saying, yeah, in terms of this one, you're saying not so much Tonali and too many for you. I think too many is a top quality player, like really good. The question from him is going to be, is Tonali going to be available? Mark, you think too many is available, and saying we are not signing Tonali, we're signing too many. If we get too many, to be honest, I think too many would be. Yeah, do you know what it is? When I've been talking to people that work a bit in football, and I've spoken to over the last few days a few scouts and a few people that not necessarily just watched Tonali at Newcastle, but maybe watched Tonali in Milan, and they look at what he's capable of, and I think it's definitely going to be a lot of. And I think that people are going to have different opinions on this one, and it's absolutely fine. I think if Manchester United seriously consider Tonali, it could be that they're looking at a different player to what we saw at Newcastle. So don't forget Eddie Howe, the way he wants to play, the players that Tonali's playing with, Manchester United, the way they want to play next season. All I'm saying is, like, we could get Edison, and Edison could work out better than we think. We could get Anderson, and maybe Anderson's not going to be levels above other players. I think Matheus Fernandes feels like a when we're looking at Matheus Fernandes, it feels like a perfect signing for Ineos, doesn't it? You get a player that's 21 years old, that's got loads of quality in his game. He's going to potentially be a top Premier League player for a long time, and it feels less risky. I think too many is definitely one of those signings as well. That if you look at what done over the last few years, there's no doubt that he elevates the team as well in quality and also leadership ability as well. You've got someone that's played top level Champions League football. There's a lot of positives regarding this one as well. One Samurai, big up to you in the chat, says the gambling thing doesn't go away so easy. So it's a huge note in your opinion. Do you get the feeling that Man United are considering that as well? That there's definitely, I think with this one, that there's definitely been a move at Man United to maybe limit information a little bit. So a lot of things are coming from outside of outside of the UK. A lot of things are coming from the player side of it, the agent side of it as well. And I speak to kind of a mix of people that some people are very keen on Tonali. I'm looking at it thinking they're looking at player wise and saying, they want this as well. But also there is definitely people looking at Tonali and thinking he's not the. Now people have a question and say, is he actually good enough? I think the gambling thing it is something that I think Ineos might consider because it is a bit of there are some non-footballing reasons why Man United might not look at certain players and some of the issues they've had with players in the past. And I think it is about a professionalism point of view as well. That if you look at Tonali and say he's a quality player, but is it going to be a bit of a risk? And the gambling thing could be a factor. I think it's something that could be. I don't know. I mean, with Tonali, all he can do is just not. Like Mark saying, all Tonali can do is just not do that and anymore. But it is like potentially a factor as well. But I think that there's going to be other factors in play where when we're looking at potential deals happening, there's going to be so many different things that can happen with different clubs. It might impact a few things. Gregory's saying that we should be looking for two very good players to fill Casemiro's place, and say one player to either support or to surpass Kobe Mainoo in his position in the midfield. I think it'd be great to see, if you could get players where, I mean, I think Kobe Mainoo is a fantastic player. I think he's got a long-term successful future at the club. But I'm also thinking, if Coman is not able to play every single game or he's injured, or I would love to see players of the same sort of quality as well. And if we took a handful of players that are going to be, say, like 22, 23, and we could put Kobe Manu, like say for example, you've got Kobe Manu, you've got Baliba, you've got Anderson, you've got Fernandez. They're all going to be better in a couple of years' time, but it's going to be quite difficult to predict who's the best. At the moment, some people would say they think Anderson's the best. I've heard some people saying they think Koeman is actually better. And I've heard some people saying they think Fernandez is already better than Anderson as well. So, I have heard a range of views over the last 24 hours, 48 hours on all these midfield players. The main thing is, I think United are looking in the right direction. If there is significant interest from Arsenal, then we'll have to see, won't we? Everything Carby says, it's been stated Arsenal don't want a midfielder this season. And what's the source for that? Because I think there's going to be, I think with Arsenal that there's definitely a few people that think that Arsenal are seriously interested. And there was that this is going back to January, isn't it? And okay, at January it was different. In January, I think Tonali's agents were pushing to try and get a move out of the club. And I think it was revealed about a week ago that Tonali's effectively he's wanted to leave St James's Park since January. So this for Tonali is not a recent thing. He wants to leave Newcastle United, and Newcastle United have said, like I think Eddie Howe might have said it as well, like a couple of weeks ago. If you want to leave Newcastle, you can go. So I'm guessing Gordon's going to go. Maybe he's going to go to Bayern Munich. I did hear like a rumor yesterday. Somebody thought that maybe Bayern Munich would be interested in Tonali. So I'm not sure regarding like that one, but they were definitely looking to buy. They're looking to buy Florian Wirtz last season. I can't remember if Bayern Munich bought a midfielder at that time, but it could be that in terms of this one. So let me just go through a few comments. So I think Modern Samurai had a comment saying that I think it's like sometimes it's difficult, isn't it, to separate like the positives from the negatives when you're considering like all aspects of the transfer. And saying great player, questionable character that could be problematic, and there are a lot of, I think what you're looking at here is like kind of mitigating risk, isn't it? And if you look at it and say, right, is there a bit of a risk with Tonali regarding past history? And you could say, okay, if you regard betting as a risk, then I think it is a risk. It just depends on how likely you think it is. So if you're looking at trying to limit your risk, then that is a bit of a risk factor. In the same way that now, buying a player that's never played in the Premier League is a bit of a risk. Like Edison is a bit of a risk. He's not played in the Premier League. He's a little bit older. And so for me, that when I see Tonali, I'm kind of 50-50 on whether Man United genuinely want to get him. Like, I'm not sure if Man United definitely want to get Tonali. I think that I'm pretty sure they definitely want to get Anderson and Tchouameni. And I think that Tonali is like one where I'm honestly not sure if Man United want to go for him. But it might be that if they do go for Tonali, I think there's a lot of people out there that will say they think he's going to be good enough and he would be a good quality signing. I think Anderson and too many, it's really annoying that they're probably the two more difficult deals to do. They're probably two of the deals that has not 100% agreement on, but I think most fans would be looking at Anderson and too many as being, top quality deals. I know there's a few people that look at too many and question whether there's a potential injury issue, but we're talking about somebody that plays 40 to 50 games regularly, and I don't see an issue there. Anderson, for me, we all know what he's about. He seems to be very low risk. And I think that's why we're seeing so many stories regarding Matheus Fernandez, because, like I said, he seems to be one of the least risky signings. You've got a player that's 21 that every single year has been improving. and every single year almost he's been moving like up in quality of clubs, and it just feels like the right time for Fernandes to jump to a bigger club in the Premier League. It could be, if Man United, if we didn't get Tonali and he went to Arsenal, I think Arsenal have got a really good player, and it's going to make it more difficult for all the teams to try and catch up. And I think that this is going to be one of these factors where Manchester United, are we going to be looking at buying a player that's that sort of age, or are we going to be looking for the next generation? Because I think at some point you've got to buy players that are already now. And say like Buwadi's a good football player, Gregory, for sure, but he's only 18. And if you're looking at say Fernandez as well, it's like 21, that these are going to be you could get Buwadi for the price of Edison. And to be honest, I would be probably if I got to make the call, I would probably go for Buwadi over Edison. But that's quite a medium term plan, isn't it? So you'd have to make sure you give Buwadi enough game time to develop. I think Edison would be seemingly reliable. Maybe with Buwadi, he could be. You could have a much higher ceiling than Edison, but you could have an issue that maybe it takes them a bit of time to get used to the Premier League. So I think there's definitely going to be, it's almost like you need both, isn't it? You need someone like Edison who's got your European experience, who's going to be able to, contribute immediately. But you've then got Buwadi, who definitely is going to be like one of the best generational players, hopefully in the next few years. Well, say hopefully. If we signed him, you'd hope for that as well. Yeah, in terms of players out there as well, you've got a lot of options. No one's been. I've heard nothing about Wharton recently, and I've heard nothing really about Angela Stiller either. So I'm just wondering whether we're going to see maybe some. It seems that whatever's happening at the moment, unless it's just going to be Italian sources posting a lot of information for to start with, and then we might see other journalists run with it. But all the information at the moment is coming from Italy. I think the Edison stuff ended up being very accurate as well. I think that the Tonali thing at the moment, I think the information out there is accurate that Manchester United and Arsenal are both in talks. The question is at the moment, I'm not sure if anyone could really give like a definitive answer of where would Tonali actually prefer to go. Like we can guess that Arsenal are going to be a definite option for Tonali, but it depends on Tonali. Does Tonali think Arsenal are going to be good enough for the next 3 or 4 years, or does he see Manchester United? Because I think clearly there's going to be, considering his age, there's definitely going to be a player there that wants to win a major trophy at some point in his career. And is Arsenal going to be good enough next season? You'd probably say at the moment that you'd probably say Arsenal should be in a title race, shouldn't they? And for Man United, I'm not sure we can guarantee that situation. So Edison's not a Pavel signing. I think Man United have been looking at Edison for probably longer than Pavel's been involved in the club. Certainly, like about 2 years ago. So now I get the feeling if you're looking at Pavel signings, you're probably going to be looking at Diamonde and Angela Stiller. They're going to be the ones that are effectively going to be linked to Pavel. But I think a lot of people assume Pavel's just buying players from Germany. I think what we're looking at here is, Man United do have some long-term targets that do align with Pavel. Like the interest in Sesko goes back beyond that as well. But I think Yardi puts it correct as well that there is no Pavel signing or a Wilcox signing. It's going to be about recommendations, and a lot of people are pushing the story, aren't they? They're saying that Lewis Hall is a Wilcox signing, and Diamonde is a Babel signing. I think what is clear is that Wilcox just has a bit more knowledge regarding Lewis Hall, and Babel has a bit more knowledge and maybe more contacts regarding Diamonde, Angela Stella. So in terms of this, I think what we're seeing is people will bring things to the table and they'll bring suggestions, and this will be almost like a committee decision where maybe that's one reason why the Lamans deal took a long time. Like the scouts were keen, and it seems that Ravel in the end was the person that authorized that. So it might be that I'm kind of guessing a bit here, and people might be just guessing as well that we don't know who's going to be. Now, if there's going to be a disagreement, who would go? Who's going to have some sort of priority? It's pretty impossible to guess, isn't it? One samurai says Hinselwoods is quality. Watched him all season. Just needs development, but the correct tools for the position. There's a lot, isn't there? But I mean, people are talking about Alex Scott recently as well, saying that he's looked like a levels better over the last few months of the season. And I think most people, to be honest, actually, most players at Bournemouth have probably put themselves in the shop window because Bournemouth have been one of the best teams since January as well. And that's what losing to Menu. So I'd say, Alex Stein, you prefer Mathis Fernandez, but Tonali's a good player. I think Mathis Fernandez for me just seems like if you're going to buy a player that's 21, and then you can coach them, you can develop them, you can work on like how you want that player to fit into your team for the next sort of 5 to 10 years. I think with Tonali, you're going to get a player now that can walk into most teams, and he's going to be a good quality player. There's no doubt about it. I'm wondering whether have we seen the best of Tonali at Newcastle? I don't think so. I don't think Newcastle are the best team. I know they've got some good players in midfield, but most people would say that Newcastle have had a good midfield. And it's only when we started being linked to Tonali that there's a bit more scrutiny over Tonali as a football player. But Bruno Guimaraes doesn't do everything on his own. He needs to be surrounded by effective players as well. Tonali's been very good against us in recent years. And Newcastle have always given us a tough game. And they were controlling midfield when we played against them. We were kind of lucky actually to beat them in the game where Dorgu scored. So now, in terms of like two games against teams this season, you could argue that Newcastle have given us our toughest game. So I would say of Alex, I like Mathis Fernandez, but you got to get a bit of experience in there as well. That it's one thing having Kobe Mainu. If we had Kobe Mainu, Mathis Fernandez, and then we're looking at, I think you've got to look at maybe Tonali is going to be. He ticks the Premier League box. He ticks the experience box. If you don't get Tonali, is there any chance of getting too many? Is there any chance of getting Anderson? I think Anderson has got like a reasonable amount of experience now. And don't forget, Anderson will have like another World Cup as well and European football with Forest. So no, there's not like a massive downside with these. I think people just start thinking potentially, that it could be quite expensive with Tonali. I'd say Newcastle's the most underperforming team in the league. Yeah, I was going to say with this one that I was not really surprised that Newcastle had this sort of season because they lost their most effective goal scorer. They had Bruno Guimaraes injured quite a lot, but the team just wasn't really set up depth wise to. You're trying to integrate Wissa, who didn't have a good season. You're trying to bring in Alanga, and you're moving on Isak. You're moving on like other players as well. For me, it just didn't work out for Newcastle. And you factor in all the extra Champions League games. The Premier League is a tough competition, and we saw Newcastle just were just struggling to maintain They did well. They did very well in the Champions League. They got through the knockout stage, didn't they? They want they got into that. That's part of the competition. So yeah. So Wilcox should have been fired for trying to sign Delap. Well, we kind of got lucky with that one, didn't we? That's all I can say. Welcome, Luca. Talks Arsenal. I mean, Luca, you're Italian. You're also a big Arsenal fan. I think you watch Italy as well, and obviously that I can't say too much about Italy. They won't be in the World Cup for certain reasons. But you're saying you take Tonali. What do you like about Tonali as a football player? Because I think Tonali is going to definitely going to divide opinions regarding that one. If you win on Saturday, yeah, if you win the Champions League, it's probably the best option to. Yeah, it's probably the best time for you actually to try and get some of these players done. United so Dice says, sadly, he's a good player. So you're talking about Tonali saying sadly he's a good player. No, he is good. I think with Alanga, then yeah, with Alanga, I think Alanga was like the perfect football player for Nottingham Forest like style. If you like Newcastle, let's say actually Nottingham Forest when they had Alanga, they were playing really defensively. And if you saw with Alanga, really great on the break. You saw actually Alanga did exactly to us what we used to do to Manchester City under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So Alanga was devastating on the break. And I think with Newcastle, Newcastle are a different team. Like teams respect Newcastle more than they respected Forest. They're not going to open up as much against Newcastle. So it's going to be more difficult for Alanga to be as effective. So I think with this one, my guess would be that Nottingham Forest were very much more of a counter-attacking team, and I think Alanga suited them perfectly. Alanga was like, he was quite effective at Man United for a little bit, but it wasn't as clinical as some of the other players we had in forward position. So he wasn't ever going to be, as effective as Rashford at the same sort of position in terms of getting goals. But it might be that, the way Newcastle play is he's not the best option for them. And do I think Fletcher will? Honestly, this is quite difficult. I think there might be a couple of players in the academy that are pushing towards some time in the first team. I'm not sure about Fletcher. Like, I really don't know. I think one of the players that they seem to be talking about as being, let's say, a likely first team player or maybe in the squad is Thwaites. I don't know how close he is to being. Yeah, again, I think this is going to be difficult, isn't it? Until these people play a few games, then it's possible. Like, it's always possible. I think it feels like it might be more difficult this year than any other previous year because it feels like Man United are going to be effectively buying first team players. So it might make it more difficult for academy players to break into the first team. Apart from, I'm guessing like you have like the League Cup games, FA Cup games, and those sort of things. So I think it could be difficult to break into the first team as a starter from the academy. It should be quite difficult though. Like that's kind of how it should be. Um, I mean, yes, I don't want to say too much about Spurs. They've been pretty poor, haven't they? Luca, you're thinking that Tonali probably chooses Arsenal. Yeah, one of it could be that if Man United lose out on Tonali because Tonali wants Arsenal, I don't think Man United fans would be, what's the word? I wouldn't be devastated. I would just be thinking, yeah, what's the situation? And so you can see Rice with Tonali more than with Mainu. Yeah, I can see that possibly. I mean, Declan Rice is obviously, I think, a very good player, and you can see maybe with Declan Rice and Tonali, maybe they could alternate a bit more. It does sound like a very good midfield, doesn't it? When you look at Declan Rice and Tonali, and I'm thinking with Man United, yeah, I don't know. I think Lacey and Thwaites could be the ones, couldn't they? Yeah, Greenwood's an example of another player as well that it's non-footballing reasons, isn't it, for Greenwood why he's not a Man United player? It's the same situation as potentially players like Rashford, players like maybe Garnacho as well. That these players have been moved on because because of like reasons beyond like what's happening on the football pitch. So Chiesa's having trouble at Liverpool. So Italian players, now maybe I think it's a bit of an adaptation process, isn't it? When you jump from Serie A to the Premier League. That's why people that like Edison, I think you'd have to be patient with Edison if you join Man United, and it would. He's probably the sort of player that either he looks fine to start with, and people will be relieved, or it might take him a bit of time. I'm hoping that if we did sign Edison, I'm hoping it would be a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker. The only thing I'd say about Greenwood is very high sell-on clause. Like if we sell Greenwood, very high sell-on clause, like 50 to 60%. So we're gonna if he goes for big money, we get decent money out of that one. So that would be potentially if he goes for 70 million plus, we're getting like 20 to 25 million out of that one. So yeah, we could be getting decent money. Depends how much he goes for. Apparently, is the whole Marseille squad up for sale? If the whole Marseille squad's up for sale, then I guess he's going. I did hear that there was apparently was it like Paris Saint-Germain, Paris FC. There was like a couple of teams interested in him. So I think that we're going to see Greenwood move clubs. That's going to probably happen, and United will use that money again. That's money we kind of forgot about as well. That's going to be extra money coming in. But these sort of deals we're talking about, though, this is why I think Man United are going to be a bit more cautious. And if there is going to be these kind of issues, I know people will have different views on Tonali. Some people think he's not good enough as a football player. Some people think he's a really good option. And there is definitely kind of gambling metric as well. People will look at that and go, yeah, we'll have to see. Um, No, I think there was definitely a recent story as well that there was definitely some big issues regarding Greenwood and Marseille. The thing about that is that from a Man United perspective, yeah, you just want to get why is Senesi going to Spurs from European football? Okay, so apparently with Senesi, I read a bit about Senesi recently, and his main motivation is maximum salary. So he's going to go on a free. Apparently, he just wants the maximum. So I'm not sure how much Bournemouth plays Senesi, but he's only going to go somewhere where they'll give him a big salary. So with Senesi, it's all about money. So it's not about European football. It's not about Champions League or Europa League. I can't remember where I read this, and it said that he's got a demand. I don't know if it's like 250K a week or something, but he's got a very high salary demand which he wants to try and meet. So as far as I can see, um, Senesi just wants the most money he can get. That's all I've read. So I think for Man United that yeah, if you got Senesi, you'd have to pay him a big salary, and that's kind of the only you do save the money in terms of a transfer fee, but that's why Senesi. Maybe Spurs are just happy to pay it. I mean, they avoided relegation, so I think they can spend that sort of money. But don't quote me on the 250, but I think it was going to be yeah quite a bit as well. So Declan Rice is that. I'll say I don't think Declan Rice is average. I think Declan Rice is a good football player. I mean, there's a reason that since Arsenal signed Declan Rice, clearly he's doing something right. Again, I don't think with Arsenal, I don't think some of because the football, the way they play, I don't think it really looks that spectacular, does it? So they get over the line and they're effective at winning matches, but it doesn't really make their players look or stand out. So I think with this one, you could argue that Declan Rice contributes towards the defensive side of their team, and they are very good defensively. And that's the reason they won the league, isn't it? We scored the same amount of goals as Arsenal, but Arsenal won the league because largely they're just more effective defensively. And yeah, it's something that we need to make sure we're trying to be doing regarding this one as well. No, I think with Tonali, yeah. So I've got a poll running, and the question was like, where do you think Tonali plays next season? So at the moment, my guess would be, I don't know, what do I think? I was trying to think, where do I think Tonali's going to play next season? Until maybe today, I was thinking Man United have got to be front runners. Then when you see the stories from Arsenal and to be honest, I looked at the Arsenal stories and I saw non-stop stories like over the last couple of hours. It's literally the same for Man United as it is for Arsenal. They're the same. It's almost like the same story, but Man United's interest, Arsenal's interest. It's the same kind of sources as well. They're both in talks. It can you can try and say that Arsenal are more likely by pushing the names of the director of football there, but it would feel a little bit like if I'm looking at Tonali, like why does Tonali want to leave Newcastle? He wants to leave Newcastle because Newcastle have dropped down. So he's just going to pick the team I think that's going to be in the best situation for him to win a trophy over the next couple of years. That's my guess. If Tonali wants to move back to Italy, there's still time to do that. I think he could definitely spend a few years at a Premier League club, then do that, go somewhere else after. I think he might want to go for a team that can win the Premier League next season, and maybe that's what he's aiming for. So my guess is going to be that if Tonali goes somewhere, I think maybe Arsenal might be a good shout. A lot of this depends on, do Arsenal seriously want him as well? So I'm going to close the poll and see what people thought because, to be honest, I don't know where he's going to go, so I don't know what the poll was saying. So I'll close the poll and see. So my guess is Arsenal, but I think it might be closer than people think. And Italy 10%, Newcastle 16%, so kind of unlikely for those. Manchester United only 23% think we'll get Tonali to play next season, and 51% say Arsenal. So it's by no means like a complete one way vote here. So it seems that 50%, nearly a quarter say Man United, and a quarter. I think Newcastle, to be honest, feels like quite unlikely. Um, there is like a very small chance, I think, of Italy, but it probably depends on. I don't know. It would maybe depend on someone like Juventus selling some quite high profile players. Like if Yildiz left and they got big money for him potentially, but yeah, honestly, it's going to be quite difficult to see that, isn't it? So no, so based on the chat, people think that he's going to go to Arsenal. And the other question is going to be, if Arsenal got Tonali, like, are you disappointed? Like, is this a player where Man United fans think, right, why don't we get him? Because we are in talks, and if we wanted to get him, could we get him? That's the key. I get the feeling with Man United, it feels it feels a little bit like this stream and like Modern Samurai and other comments people are putting in there. It feels like a lot of us look at it and go, right, Tonali's a good football player, But if I read a story tomorrow that said Arsenal signed Tonali, I'm kind of more thinking it's a bit of a shame because Arsenal will benefit from Tonali, but I don't feel like he's necessarily the best option for Man United, if that makes sense. I think he would definitely be an upgrade on what we had recently, but is it going to be the best quality signing Man United can make? He's not my number one target, so I have to be consistent and say, like Tonali makes the squad better for sure. And but is it going to be, is losing Tonali going to be a massive blow that we can't recover from in this transfer window? I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of good players out there that we can definitely sign. So yeah, I don't want to mention too much about Ruben Amorim. I think we're just getting over that one. Um, so we need to be chasing players who want United like we did last summer. That way we can be sure we're in the driving seat. I think with that one, Curtis, I think that's where Edison and Matheus Fernandes kind of tick the boxes, don't they? And I get the feeling that with Man United that where does Tonali want to play? That might be the one thing journalists need to find out, and it might be the one thing that, let's be honest, Tonali is probably looking for a big payday, and it could be that we hear something relatively soon about where he wants to go. Does he even improve Arsenal? I think he improves Arsenal, Andy. I think if you're looking at Zubimendi, looking at Marino, I think he improves Arsenal's midfield. Certainly, I think with Arsenal as well, when they lost a couple of players to injury, you need some depth in the team as well. I think he's going to be. I don't think he necessarily is levels above the team, but again, it's a bit like getting depth, isn't it? And making sure you get like good quality players to replace other players. So no, it definitely improves Arsenal. It definitely at the moment we don't have a lot of options, do we? Now, big up Bilal. Say could never be an upgrade on Casemiro. They're kind of different, aren't they, with this one? I'll just say for people as well. So United Dice says what Fernandez 60, Hackney 30, Edison 43. I think United are going to be spending a bit more than that. But to be honest, I would say if you're going to be looking at those players, you could maybe throw Believe it in the mix as well as a potential player. I'll just say regarding this one that yeah, I've said this as well that if you're looking at Tonali and looking at him playing in Newcastle, I don't think it's necessary that Newcastle have got average players. I think if you're looking at Newcastle, Eddie Howe's got a different way of playing football to Arteta and a different way of playing football to Manchester United with in terms of playing with Michael Carrick. The expectation for Tonali at Man United might be different from what he's doing at Newcastle. I mean, United are trying to progress towards moving the ball quickly forward, attacking fast, and I think Tonali's technically good and could do that, but also I think Tonali's competent enough to defend from the back and control things from that area of the pitch as well. So I think it depends how you want to use Tonali. A lot of this comes down to what do Man United want from what they want the squad to look like. Do they want to get a destroyer in there? Do they want to get a few passing midfielders? Do they want someone like do they want too many? Is that the sort of profile they want? It's going to be quite difficult to get people like too many. So we definitely need mids. Glazers will say we got top three, so we don't need to sell. They'd be stupid if they did that. I think the thing is that okay, we do need to buy players because let's be realistic here. Toby Collier got loaned out, and our squad is so thin that Casemiro leaving and Agate leaving have to be replaced. We didn't replace Christian Eriksen either. We didn't replace those as well. Any players we could get from relegation teams we could grab for a low price. I saw a rumor I don't know if it's true, but I saw a rumor that I can't remember where it was now. It might have been Ryan or someone shared it with me earlier today, and they were saying Bowen might be available for something crazy like 20 million or 25 million. So I don't know if you could get a bargain for Bowen, but there will be stories pushed out there that there are bargains available. Todibo, I'm not sure. Suchek, I've not seen anything about as well. Matheus Fernandez, I think the price is going to be about 60 million. So there's been a few stories about this one. I don't think it's going to be too much different as well. Um, is Agate gone for sure? This is kind of my guess. But because Agate just doesn't feature at all under Michael Carrick, and I'm not a body language expert, But Agate looks like he's gone to me. That when it comes on the, I'm actually trying to think how many minutes Agate's played recently, because he seems to have been frozen out of the team. So I don't see Agate really featuring much in Manchester United's. Like he didn't feature this season, despite almost running out of players. And I think maybe the last day of the season, you look at Man United, Casemiro is gone. We start Mason Mount and Korimenu, and I think what they're saying here is that Xerxes and Agate, I think they're gone, and they're not going to be, yeah, they're not going to be signing those, keeping those players beyond this season. So I'd be very surprised regarding this one. I know I get accused of being like working for Hackney because I keep saying that Hackney's a good player, and people keep thinking I'm like somehow getting a cut from the deal if we sign him. I think Hackney's a good player. That he was Championship Player of the Season, and if you look at the trajectory at the moment of football teams, being the best player in the Championship, you're probably going to be, easily able to play for like a lower mid-table Premier League team and fit into the squad. And if you look at the younger players that are going to be some of the best in the Championship, I think it's a really good league to like progress them into into the Premier League. No, I agree with you, Cody, that you need to have players that have got desire to play for Man United, they've got enthusiasm about playing for Man United, and say that there's different levels, isn't there, when you look at it. And what's this one? So the revenue from the overpriced food and drinks inside Old Trafford with a captured audience. So when I've been to Old Trafford, I've just bought food on the way because you get like I just get what's the word? I just get some food, like a snack outside the ground. I have no idea how much they charge for food in the ground. I've never bought anything inside the ground. And to be honest, at half time, I just stay in the stands. I don't go and get food and drink at half time either. Hackney, I think we might find out soon, Mark. We might find out. Hackney was quite linked to Nottingham Forest. I'm not saying he's going to go to Nottingham Forest, but he was seen as potentially going to be. So yeah, Hackney's not paying me enough. Put it this way: if I got 20% of the deal, I would be laughing. Hackney might be valued at what, like 30, 35 million pounds, something like that. If I can, if I can get like 1%, 1% kickback, I will be happy with that. So I'd forego like the 20% agent fees. I'd just take a small percentage. Now Hackney's good. I think with Hackney, that playing for Middlesbrough, you're probably looking at if he joins the Premier League, and what other clients do I have? What other players have I maybe overly hyped up? I don't know. I got in quite early on Anderson. I was trying to talk about Anderson about maybe 18 months to 2 years ago about Anderson. So I kind of got in early on him when he was quite cheap. Maybe Boadi's my other client. Like I do talk about Boadi quite a lot. Malps, you might have heard of him. He's quite decent. Apart from that, I'm more of a I'm more interested in some of the players that I think we should sign a lot of the times. And I think with like Hackney, I quite like the idea of having low risk. And maybe one of my other clients was Dorgu. I was talking about Dorgu about 9 months before we signed him as a good signing. So I think my clients have done pretty well so far. I think in terms of future clients, then I'm kind of 50-50 on Juve at West Ham. I think attacking like crosswise it seems to be there. I think he might be quite a useful backup for a season and see how he can cope. I do quite like Alex Scott actually. I think he's got a lot of potential. And maybe if I could actually get a client on the books, I think the best one would be maybe like Mathis Fernandez. I think he's probably got some of the most potential as well. And yeah, maybe with this one, if Manchester United did push forward with a deal for Hayden Hackney, it would be a lot of people would probably draw the conclusion that it's because of Michael Carrick. I think he was talked about in his own right as well, but beyond that as well. So it's not necessarily just because of Michael Carrick. I think that he's an effective midfield player. The question's going to be is you know if he was good enough, then given the price that he's going to be costing in the summer, wouldn't we have got this deal done in January? Like, is there any reason why we can't get a deal done in January for that sort of price? Because according to what I saw, there was definitely who was it? Spurs were interested when Spurs were looking at Gallagher, and I believe the price is going to be £30 million in January. So if Man United wanted Hackney, they could have just got the deal done in January. I don't know what the reason was why we didn't do deals then, but yeah. Now, welcome to the chat, Andy. Welcome. Yeah, I'm kind of melting in my music room at the moment. Yeah, this is kind of the things that if I was going to be campaigning for like Man United recruitment, I'd probably be banging on with like low risk, high reward type thing, and yeah, that's kind of the things what I'm looking at as well. Yeah, no, this one is like mostly with this one. What deals do people think are definitely going to be happening though? Because at the moment, I think you can look at some of the like I know people love Sangare, but I just never see anything with him linked at all as well. Yeah, I need to have like one of those. I need to have like one of these. Like you know how they have like a food storage rooms where you can just walk in. I was thinking a bit like if you've seen the film The Shining, when they walk into that freezer room, I could do something like that downstairs just to go there and just for 5 minutes. Obviously, not as much as he spent in there, but that would be quite effective. No, I think that at the moment that if you're looking at the likely deals, I think you just have to just look in the Premier League and see that the deals might be quite obvious this season. And if United can't get Anderson, then maybe tonight's going to be the top target. And I'm actually a bit surprised that we haven't heard more about Angela Stiller. I thought he was going to be a player we looked at. All I can guess with that one is I think the price might have gone up a little bit, and it might be that Angela Stiller maybe a few weeks ago Angela Stiller felt like a cheap deal, but it could be a little bit like when we start adding extra tens of millions to some of these deals, and if Stuttgart want to get over 50 million, suddenly you kind of look at Alex Scott and think actually Alex Scott, Matheus Fernandes, that's quite an exciting young midfield that United can build around. So I think there's definitely a few options to try and get some quality into the squad, and there's not much risk in that, is there? Again, we could start doing the sort of deals that maybe Bournemouth do. I would say if I was going to be doing a bit of business, I might be looking at some of the scouts and some of the people doing transfers at Bournemouth and say, look, you signed some top quality players regarding this one as well. Now, if people got any final questions, guys, I will probably wrap up quite soon. So I'll do like 5 minutes of questions before I head off. If you're new to the channel, as always, please subscribe as well. We're trying to grow the channel. One thing I've noticed recently is because we're quite a new channel, we're not really reaching any new viewers because we're kind of like quite small. But if you're able to share the stream, it always helps massively as well because it just reaches different people. So if you share things on X or on Instagram or anything else, any platform you're on, that will always help. So I'll do like 5 minutes of questions and then I'll have to go and get a liter of water and some ice. And to be honest, the thing is, it does. If I go outside, it's actually hotter than inside, so I can't win at the moment. That it's just going to be for another few days, hopefully. I mean, it depends. At the moment, it just seems to be ridiculous. I need to get some blinds for this room, and then I can make it a bit colder, possibly. What's the best move pending when West Ham lower the valuation for Fernandez? I think that is going to be the best move, isn't it? I think Matheus Fernandez could be Manchester United's probably best first signing. That I think everybody would agree that he's a good option. I'm just trying to think. I might have a picture of Fernandez here. I've kind of got a few lined up, but in terms of this one, so where is it? Let me just share this one. Now, it looks like Man United regarding Fernandez. I think that we're at a situation now where we kind of know what price they want, don't they? West Ham were pretending they wanted how much was it? Like 84 million or something crazy. So 84 million, and we're not going to see Man United pay that. I think we're going to be seeing about £60 million for Matheus Fernandes. It might even be, I'm just trying to think how that it'll be structured. But no, Matheus Fernandes is going to leave West Ham, and according to again, this is like multiple sources out there now. So multiple sources are saying that Matheus Fernandes is keen to join Man United. West Ham need the money. Manchester United rate Fernandes. That Bruno Fernandes really likes him. He likes Bruno Fernandes. I mean, what more can you say? There's literally yeah. It seems like there's. I'm not going to say it's a done deal yet because there can be things that happen, but if I was gambling like Tonali used to, then I would probably put some money on Matheus Fernandes being like one of our signings. If he's not, then fair play. Who knows who we're going to sign? But I think it's yeah, it's a tricky one. Who does Tonali favour, Arsenal or United? That's probably the question. So my guess, Matt, was going to be. I mean, we can all guess. My guess was going to be based on um, based on where Man United finished last season and where Arsenal finished. I think he might favour Arsenal just to get a trophy or to get a better chance of a trophy. That's just my guess, but I don't know. Do I remember what the Ice Bucket Challenge was for? I can't remember. Was that must have been like before COVID, wasn't it? So I can't even remember what the Ice Bucket Challenge was for. So no, I can't remember to be honest. Genghis said we need Lucky to go. No, apparently the price is about 60 million. That's what most people think. And is it a price drop? I don't think it's a price drop. All I'd say is that West Ham spent about £40 million on the player and with add-ons, and there's a sell-on clause from Southampton for 15%. So they just want to get some money. They need to raise. I think West Ham need to raise 150 million, and at the moment, if Fernandez gives you like 60 of that, maybe it's going to be 50%. Then maybe you got to get another 90, and then maybe looking at Juve, like how much will Soucek cost or Bowen. I mean, it's actually quite a lot if you consider that maybe Fernandez is the most expensive player. If like Bowen goes for like say 30 or 40, you've still got to sell like Juve, and suddenly, this is a lot of good quality players leaving your club. So this isn't great for West Ham. I know they get the parachute payments, but this is not very good. Is there a way to chat via X? I'm not sure, to be honest, Tyrone. I don't know. People can share it on X, but at the moment, I think it's quite difficult because a lot of people on X are running spaces, and spaces are quite popular. We might try and do a few more call-in shows like Fan Forum where we get like a lot of people on to have a chat. So we might look at trying to do that, Tyrone, and get the call-in show has been quite popular, but again, it depends on people's like if there's a demand for it, we can do that and get people on. Was that the Ice Bucket Challenge? Honestly, I can't remember. It was so long ago that I can't remember what it sounds like. I can't remember where it started. I think people when celebrities kind of jump on it. Yeah, no. For people that are interested though, then if you're able to get involved in the Discord is going to be the easiest way of us reaching people and the easiest thing for like. So I'll just share another link to the Discord. At the moment, like there's quite a few people like Modern Samurai's in there. We've got I think Rob Always United's in the Discord, Coyote's in the Discord, Jim's in there as well, and there's about 80 people in there at the moment. So it's one way of like communicating. I'm going to be away for a few days from like Thursday onwards. So what I might do is I might try and hammer a few streams in the next couple of days. But the Discord might be the best way of getting involved because again, like for people that want to get involved in calling shows, we kind of need to advertise them so at least people know when they are. And at the moment, it's kind of difficult because when I'm trying to look at, there's a lot of there was going to be quite a few guests on the channel, but a lot of people are quite busy, so it'll probably be mostly solo streams. So I might just go right. Here's the link in the chat. People can come on, and if people are interested in that, I'm quite happy to host a show most evenings or most days where I can drop a link in the chat and get people to come on and we can talk about whatever's trending of the day. We could do something like that. So it could be like an open mic type thing where let's see what's happening with Tonali and people just can come in, have their say as well. And if that's something you enjoy, then let me know. But also try and share the stream if you can as well. Can I do some lives to the World Cup? Yeah, we're going to completely hammer the World Cup with this one. We're going to be doing a lot of World Cup content. So the idea is that we're going to try and cover every single match. Admittedly, that means there will be some late night streams, but I've got people that know G Wolf. G Wolf is going to be on board as well as another guest host. So what we might be doing is we might maybe be taking it in turns to do different games as well, so we can cover all the games, but not be kind of sat on screen for the whole day because there's going to be a hell of a lot of football to start with. So we will be looking at trying to do that with myself, G Wolf, and yeah, it depends because streaming is quite. It's not that easy to set up streams and organize things. So myself and G Wolf will be maybe lead hosts, but people that want to get involved that are involved, on the channel a bit, then there will be opportunity. If people want to get involved, like I said, the calling show is going to be the first thing that people can get involved in, and then gradually, people that we know better can get involved a bit more as being a guest on the channel, etc. So we will do a lot of World Cup content because, to be honest, when World Cup matches are on, I'm going to be watching them. Do you know the time difference is 8 hours from California? I do, Gregory. One of my first guests on the channel was based in, I'm trying to think where it was now. It was California. It was quite north. It was close to quite close to Oakland actually. So Oakland, California was my first get, and I used to stream at 10:30, and he used to join at 2:30 in the afternoon. So yeah, he was definitely, he was. It was kind of, it worked for him because that's when he was available, but it worked for me because I was streaming that sort of time at night. But no, yeah. Cheers, Mickey. Thanks everybody that's been clicking like. 34 likes is a good effort for a random stream time as well. I don't normally stream at certain times. Yeah, tomorrow, I think I can. It might be tomorrow. I'm going to try and like keep the channel all Man United stuff apart from the World Cup. So we're going to be doing Man United content, and anything else than that will be World Cup stuff as well. So it might be we'll cover every single match. What I might do is again, that anyone that watches the channel, leave comments after the stream's finished if you got suggestions, because like you guys can decide what's on it. I mean, I get to make the decisions on how the channels run. So if there's things you like that you don't see on other channels, then we can make it happen. Because one of the reasons I started the channel that people won't know is I just wanted a different sort of channel, and I looked at some of the things on YouTube and thought it would actually be quite good to do things a bit differently, like get people more involved, like read out people's comments, interact with the chat, and do some polls, get some opinions, etc. So, yeah, if you're looking at trying to do this as well, then if you want to get involved, this is what I'm saying. You can get involved. Yeah, no, exactly. So, Mickey, you make a fantastic point, and Jules is like, it's definitely welcome to host any amount of streams he wants, but he's just not, he's just not available, unfortunately. Like Jules is quite busy, so it is. I think the best way of putting it is that people who want to get involved, it takes so much time commitment. Like every single stream, it's like hours behind, etc. as well. So from your perspective, I stream at 3 a.m., 7 a.m., and 3 p.m. Are you awake at these times, Gregory? These are not ideal times for. You're based in. I'm trying to think. Obviously you're like like 5, 6 hours difference to me. So actually seven. Yeah, about 6 hours difference to me. So no, at the moment though, I'm guessing for you it must be like what's it now? Like 11 in the morning. Then no, but I think with the World Cup, it will be very much set in stone, won't it? When you're looking at when the games are on. So with that, we can do that 100%. The Champions League, I'm actually away. I'm actually not at home for the Champions League. So, I mean, I'm away until probably Sunday as well. Someone asked me a question about what do I think of Edison, and my reply to that would be, I'm open-minded to be honest. I'm going to be a bit open-minded with Edison. If we sign him, I hope it works out, but I don't know. It's going to be. What do I think of Keane's views on Bruno? Do you think he's being harsh? Is this where Roy Keane got angry that people are talking about Bruno's assist record? I think I don't know. Do you get the feeling that with this, there's more than it's not about Bruno, is it? Is Roy Keane just angry that people don't regard Roy Keane as a better football player than he was? Like Roy Keane for me was one of the most important players on the pitch, but he probably didn't get the it probably didn't get the hype. I remember watching Roy Keane, and one of my friends used to get Roy Keane shirts and said like Roy Keane was his favorite player. And I think people that watch Man United will look at Roy Keane throughout the say late 90s, early 2000s. Roy Keane was one of Man United's most important players, like really most important. But he probably never got the limelight like I don't know, maybe like David Beckham got the limelight, or Van Nistelrooy got like loads of praise, Andy Cole, York, and you get goal scorers being like not overhyped, but just kind of thought of more. I think he was just a quality player, and maybe Roy Keane is just angry about how it ended. Like it just ended badly at Man United, didn't it? It didn't end in the sort of It didn't end great for Beckham, but Beckham engineered a good move. So I don't know. I think Roy Keane's bitter about a few things. To be honest, I think when Roy Keane talks about Michael Carrick, it's I don't know. It's not really worth listening to because there's obviously some things behind the scenes that make him um, yeah not really impartial. So I mean, I think Roy Keane's obviously got a good understanding of the match of the games and things. But I think Roy Keane is just a bit. There's obviously some history there with Harry. I think Roy Keane does care about the club more than he lets on, and I think he's just pissed off that he effectively got moved out and kicked out of the club, and ended badly. That's what I'm thinking. It could be also that there's definitely, I don't watch the overlap, but people tell me the overlap has just got worse and worse, and it's become more like, because I think the idea is going to be that with the overlap, you kind of have higher expectations than YouTube because you think these guys are professional. They should be bringing more insight than rather that if Roy Keane was talking about Roy Keane's a very good midfielder. He was a world-class midfielder in his day. Why isn't Roy Keane discussing how Matheus Fernandes, Sandro Tonali, Baliba, Anderson? Why isn't Roy Keane and Gary Neville discussing how these players can fit into Manchester United's team and give us some insight into what they think? Michael Carrick, how he was as a player, what he might see in terms of a midfield rebuild, and instead we just hear about Bruno Fernandes being misquoted and people getting angry. I mean, the overlap's got I think the overlap has got some players that have played at the highest level on that platform, and you're just getting nothing from them. I think you could just replace them with I know 4 or 5 people from a YouTube channel that have no insight into what it's like to play for a professional football team and get the same kind of level of take. So I think it's a bit of a wasted platform, and that's why I don't really watch it. To be honest, I see all the clips though, and so you think Bruno Fernandes drives Roy Keane mad with his antics on the pitch? So the thing about Bruno Fernandes is that Bruno Fernandes has got a different personality to Roy Keane. Roy Keane's got a different personality to Paul Scholes. They've got different personalities to Michael Carrick. You can't really change the way Bruno Fernandes reacts when a decision goes against him. One of the things you could see is that Roy Keane used to demand a high standard from his teammates. And I think Bruno Fernandes also wants higher performance from his teammates. And you can see with Bruno Fernandes, there's more of a coaching element to the way he plays with his teammates, the way he points and gives direction and instruction. So I think Bruno Fernandes elevates other people's games in the team. And I think it's the same way that I think Roy Keane made other teammates better. I think Bruno Fernandes makes teammates better. I think weirdly that a lot of things that Bruno does he does quite calmly in a team that's just not as good as the team that Roy Keane played in. And I think it's a shame because Roy Keane was the best player in Man United's team, in my opinion, like in some seasons. And Bruno Fernandes has been the best player in Man United's team. But if you give them better teammates, you have a team that can win more trophies. So it's a bit of a shame. Um, yeah, no, in terms of this one, I think it's got his opinion, and people will just disagree. But No, exactly. I mean, you can watch that. If you think I'm talking absolute nonsense, then there's a lot of other platforms that people can watch, isn't there? And again, it's about different opinions. I don't mind someone watching and having a different opinion to me. I don't mind people posting in the comments they think I've got the wrong opinion on something because at the end of the day, it's just my take on what I see. I do agree with Mickey, though. I'd say Edison as a Agati replacement. Edison, for me, is a player that, say, 2 years ago, he's playing in a much better team in Atalanta. I think he's yeah. In terms of like, can he replace Agati? I think definitely can. Is Edison going to be an alternative to, say, a too many or an Anderson? Of course, he's not. It's not going to be close to those, is he? So, I mean, unfortunately, it's a bit like saying that oh, this is kind of tricky, isn't it? I feel bad for saying this. So if you want non-stop positivity, just don't listen for the next 30 seconds. I think most players are an upgrade on Agate. I think most forward players would be an upgrade on Xerxes. I think any goalkeeper I've ever seen is an upgrade on Bayindir. And Michael Carrick's obviously a big upgrade on Amarin. I think what's going to be difficult is it's really easy to get better football players than Agate. And the difficulty is going to be if Man United signed Edison or Tonali, then to make sure you get better players than them in the future, that might start becoming more difficult. But at the moment, we've got no midfield, so any player coming in is going to be, yeah, it's going to be easy to get some midfield players in. The question is going to be like we need to have high standards at the club, and we're not going to agree on whether Tonali's a good signing until we see Tonali. I'm not going to be able to say whether I'm really happy with the Tonali signing unless we signed him and I watched like 5 to 10 games. After that, I can maybe sit back and go, actually, Tonali was a great signing. When we signed Lamans, my first reaction was, let's see how he gets on. I had literally no idea what I would expect from Lamans. I had no expectation of him to come in and be fantastic. I wasn't thinking, right, he's going to fail because he's never played in the Premier League. I was open minded and I was just pleasantly surprised. I think the difference with Tonali might be that, to be fair, there should be higher expectations. He's 26 years old. He's played in the Premier League. He's represented Italy as well. You'd expect him to bring more quality than a lot of the younger players were linked to. And would he definitely be able to do that? Possibly, but again, I think I think that's why people are looking at Tonali and thinking, is it worth spending 86 million pounds or however much it's going to cost? Because one of the things you could say is, if you're Arsenal, it's definitely worth it because you're already winning trophies. You've just won the Premier League. Get some players in to try and win it again next season. If you can get some like Tonali, he's an upgrade over on Zubimendi. Get him in. I think with United, it's very much a case of like, are we going to be good enough next year or 2 years time, etc. No, I don't think we're going to see Xerxes again unless we play against an Italian team in the Champions League. I don't think we're going to see Agate either. Big up to you, Niall. Good seeing the chat, Niall. Hope you're having a good afternoon as well. Any final questions before we go? If you're able to share the stream on socials, like I said, and also if you're able to get in the Discord on the United socials, that will be where we share information as well. I'm going to try and do some more call-in shows. As I said, I will be away from Thursday onwards, so there won't be any content on the channel. I don't think on a Friday or maybe a Saturday. There might be something on Thursday morning. I am trying to, like people say, I am trying to get guest hosts, but it's very, very difficult to get people that are able to do live streaming and set things up. And there's just a lot of boring technical stuff behind the scenes that it takes a bit of time to get people up to speed on. But I'm hoping to try and get this in the future and get a few guest hosts. But it is genuinely quite difficult to do that. But in the short term, calling shows, we can definitely do that as well. So I'm going to wrap up in about, say, 3 or 4 minutes. So if people got a few final points before I need to go and take about a litre of water. So United needs to stop the rot, having a few poor players in the rotation. That's all it is, isn't it? Like with Man United, I think we need to go from having a good first 11 and a bench that has no chance of being like effective to just having like 16 players we can rotate in around the first team. It's not about getting 10 new players in. It's about making sure that Man United have got a backup striker, backup goalkeeper, a new left back, and maybe some more midfield options. That's kind of all we're looking at as well. So you're right, Gregory. Yeah, to be honest, like Xerxes is about as effective as putting me on the pitch and expecting a world class performance. And I think Agate is about as good as putting like I don't know, like no disrespect to Tyrone, but if Tyrone was on the pitch, I'd be like, well, let's see, he might be able to do. He might be able to offer something more than Agate. We'll have to see. I'll say they. I think with this one, Mickey, that as far as I can see, and as far as like all the news kind of is kind of telling us, is that Man United does not buy football players for head coaches. They have a clear plan, and it could be that Christopher Vavell and Wilcox, Barada, Jim Radcliffe, they'll be making the decisions, and it might be that Michael Carrick gets to have a bit of a say. So Michael Carrick might be able to make some suggestions, but he's certainly not going to influence them too much. He's going to have, and maybe they can ask about midfielders, and maybe he can have a little bit of a say. So yeah, no. So I think they're going to be. It could be like a Moneyball type approach, but it could be that if you're going to buy outside the Premier League, I think you need to go cheap. That seems to be No, so Angela Stiller, I think, went from being quite cheap to being a bit more expensive, and that might be why it doesn't happen. And if you're going to buy expensive, you're probably going to have to buy a Premier League player. Like, I don't think we're going to be buying expensive players that haven't played in the Premier League. So, it's going to be tricky. Is Edison a smokescreen? I mean, how you have that kind of that meme where you got that really old lady and talking about things that happened. I think Edison will be like that. That he'll be kind of. I think Edison's agreed terms, and it's about Man United getting the deal done. And I think Edison will be, just kind of sat there waiting, thinking, are Man United actually going to be um, getting this deal done? Like, because Edison's taking all the risk, isn't he? Edison is effectively what I say, Edison has agreed terms with Man United. He's not negotiating with any other team. So if Edison doesn't move to Man United, wow, then yeah, he's got some problems because Atletico Madrid will probably not wait around. They'll probably sign somebody else, and it might be bad times for Edison. So I don't know if he's going to be stuck at Atalanta, but that would be quite embarrassing, wouldn't it? Your passing is better than Nagate. Yeah, to be fair though, if I was on the pitch, the first thing I would do is not pass to an opposition player. So I think mine would be, I think I could pass a bit more effectively than Nagate. Although to be honest, like I'm not sure I'd cope under pressure of having 70,000 people watching. Yeah, no, I think we just have to, Mickey. I think we just have to hope that there is a plan, and hopefully the plan does actually get put into action. Mr. Big Dog says we won't get Anderson, Tonali, or too many. We will end up with, say, Fernandez, Edison, Scott, Belieber. I don't mind that, to be honest. Then Mathis Fernandez, Edison, say Scott or Belieber. I'd probably like a bit more experience that's in the Premier League. I'd be more comfortable if we got Anderson, Tonali, or too many. If we got one of those players and then two of the second list, I would be a little bit happier with that. But now, if we got Fernandez and Edison, then I think Tonali feels like a good third option. But if what if we got Fernandez, Edison, Alex Scott? I think it's decent. Like, is it gonna no, is it gonna be good enough to win a Premier League? I don't know. It depends. Like there is a lot of people are thinking that if we don't get Tonali, maybe he goes to Arsenal. But now maybe there's going to be another like twist in the tail. So it may be, maybe we see something else happening. I don't know. I mean, I don't see him going to Man City. That would be a bit of a weird one, but you never know. There might be other links to Tonali as well. So we agreed terms with Marcelo Salas, did we? That's going back a bit. Believe it's a waste of money, says JDC. I don't know. To be honest, like the Belieber stuff seems to have gone quite cold, so I don't know regarding this one. I think the main thing for me would be like if Man United can get a deal done quite quickly, that would be quite nice, wouldn't it? It's been ages since we did a very fast deal. I think last year actually we did a deal. I think we did a deal agreed like I think it was a year yesterday. We did a deal for Cunha. So when there's a deal with a release clause, we got that deal done quickly. But at the moment, yeah, no, I don't think we're going to be getting deals done that fast. So Mourinho's asked to get Angela Stiller. Do you think maybe a quick question before I finish? Do you think that Mourinho going to Real Madrid means that any high profile players like a Valverde or too many or is there going to be some players leaving Real Madrid that we can be thinking of? The only thing I've seen is going to be yeah, exactly. It's just a release clause, which is why it's easy. Yeah, the only thing I was thinking of is that apparently Real Madrid want Dallo. I don't know what happens if Real Madrid want Dallo. Apparently the valuation is not particularly high, so I'm not sure. I think if Man United sold Dallo, they've got to get a proper price for him. Otherwise, we still got to replace him, and I'm not sure we've been linked to lots of right backs recently. So yeah, tricky. No, as you just said, Daz, I think it's the most important window possibly ever. It feels a bit like this one. So I think it could be the most important transfer window for Man United because there's literally so many different options. You got to get the right one in. Like if we can't get Anderson, at least try and get like another good one done. But at the moment, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of speculation. I'd imagine that hopefully we see something happen quite soon, and hopefully we see something fast. But before I go, guys, please, the pinned link has got the Discord in. If you've got any thoughts on things you want to see on the channel as well, let me know. If you shared the stream on any platform as well, let me know in the comments because that's something that if we can do that, we can definitely grow the channel. But at the moment, it's quite a struggle, and YouTube isn't really promoting the channel to any other new people. So all the people that you see watching in the comments, it's pretty much the same people we've seen for the last few weeks, and YouTube is not reaching any sort of new football fans, which is a bit disappointing. But so Jamie Jackson clutching at straws. Okay, yeah, Jamie Jackson's like, what's the word? Sometimes he's reliable, but again, I don't think he's a Man United fan. So if there's a negative angle on a Man United player, he'd probably go for it. So no, I think he's yeah, I don't think Jamie Jackson makes things up, but yeah, no, there's definitely going to be a lot of speculative news out there, isn't there, Mickey? So no, I think at this point in time, I think people that are watching the channel know that we're looking at the news, we're not believing it all. We're just kind of guess what's going to happen and have a football chat. And what about the hype feature? Yeah, the hype. If you're able to hype the stream watching on a mobile phone, please do that as well. And clicking the like, brilliant. And I think also as well, word of mouth. If you've got friends that enjoy YouTube as well, even if you like, if you share the stream on any platform, that just says to YouTube that you're happy as well. When the stream finishes as well, if you just click on and watch other videos and stay on the platform for a little bit as well, that also tells Man United, not Man United, it tells YouTube that yeah, you've watched this channel and it hasn't put you off YouTube. You've gone and watched on other stuff as well. What I should do is maybe I should post a link. Hang on a minute. I'm going to post a link to another video I've done, and actually this will be quite good. So I've got a video that the only way you can see this video, right? The only way you can see this video. Let me know if you're watching still. The only way you can see this video is by clicking this link. It's an unlisted video, and it's a test that myself and G Wolf did last night. So the only way you can see this video is by watching this, by clicking this link. So you can't find this on the channel. It's not a secret. It's just something I did as a test. So you can watch this. It's like I don't know, 50-second video. It's literally a test of trying to use OBS, which is the platform I'm using now, with guests as an experiment. So if you're interested, it's quite funny because it's just me and G Wolf talking about 1 a.m. this morning. Just again, don't read too much into it. It was just a test to check that the audio worked with adding people using different software. So what I'll say is I'll wrap the stream up. I'll post a link in the chat. Please watch it and let me know what you think. I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure if you can leave comments on that one, but I'm just going to put it out there as like a secret video you can watch and let me know. But guys, thanks for watching the channel. Appreciate it. I'm just going to post a link in the chat and then wrap up the stream. Let me know in the comments what you think. But it's G Wolf myself, just a chat, working out how to use some software. But a couple of questions. You might find it funny. Big up to you guys. Just watch the video. I've shared it with a couple of people I know, but it's not for general consumption because of what he says. But it's just a bit of a joke as well. So take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.